Marriage is sweet, but not always refined.
We are here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly in marriage, and we're definitely going to laugh along the way.
Because after all, marriage doesn't have to suck.
That's right.
I'm August.
And I'm Ashleigh.
And this is the Raw Sugar Podcast. Welcome to the Raw Sugar Podcast.
We welcome you with a glass of red. Yes.
Yes. What episode are we on, baby?
We are on episode number 1.
Wow. Welcome. You are here for a groundbreaking episode. Literally groundbreaking. What are we going to be talking about today, baby?
Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 love languages. It's basically like the foundation of our marriage, and we believe it really should be the foundation of every marriage.
Yes.
And really every relationship, every relationship in general. Friendships, relationship with your parents, all of that.
Yep, relationships in general. I mean, this book was an absolute game changer for me. I cannot tell you how many times I've given this book as a gift. I first read it in the mid-2000s, and I think it was written in the mid-90s. So this thing's been around for a long time. It's been a blessing to a lot of people. However, there's so many people that I know that have never heard of this book. And by the way, this is it's called The 5 Love Languages. It's written by Dr. Gary Chapman. And we encourage you, after this podcast, please go out and buy it. Because, like we say, this is an absolute game changer.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So what are the 5 love languages?
Okay, so the 5 love languages are words of affirmation. And this is in no particular order, by the way. Words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service,
physical touch, and gifts.
Yes.
There you
go.
So every single person, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what your upbringing is, where you're at in the world, you give and receive love emotionally within these 5 categories. And so within those 5, babe, what are you?
So I am hands down quality time.
100%.
Like 100. I mean, I'm so quality time that it might make him crazy.
Because mine is not.
Yeah.
And you'll find
he's
that
the complete opposite. So you can have a primary and you can have a secondary. My secondary used to be physical touch. So I was quality time, physical touch when we first got married. And
pre-kids?
Yeah, pre-kids. However, after children, your secondary can completely change. Like, I thought after our first child, there was something wrong with me because, like, I didn't want to be touched anymore. Dun, dun. Come to find out that it's like a normal thing. Like, women, they have children, you're being touched all the time, you're nursing, you're co-sleeping, you're just all day, it's just 24/7 being touched or being needed, and all of the other stuff. It's so common for women secondary to change.
Yeah. And
so I feel like for me, my secondary changes kind of, maybe not on a weekly basis, but just in seasons. Like, whatever season we're in with the kids is kind of, my secondary kind of changes. Sometimes they're more needy and demanding, and I'm having to, like, discipline more or whatever. And I feel like I just need him to tell me, or need people to tell me I don't suck as a mom. Like, you know?
So then words of affirmation.
Yeah, words of affirmation comes in, or maybe sometimes I feel like I'm like buying the kids so many things or giving out so much that I feel like it'd be nice to just maybe get a gift once in a while.
So you know what I'm hearing, babe, in this? I'm hearing that I have definitely the hardest job.
Yeah, so basically, he just needs to guess.
I'll tell you, it's like an audible. I just never know. And when I hike the ball, I don't know. Okay, what am I doing? Am I doing words of affirmation today? Am I doing quality time? Am I doing physical touch? I mean, is it a physical touch day? I don't know. That is the struggle, but it's okay.
Yeah, but you know what? I think I came up with a solution, though.
Okay, I want to hear this.
That we obviously haven't implemented, but I've been thinking about this, and I feel like what might make it easier for him to know, or for you to know, like what my secondary is to do like a weekly check-in and just see how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, like where I feel like I'm at with the kids, or, you know, whatever. And that might give a better idea as to where that'll help even me figure out what do I need. Because I think sometimes we don't even know what we need, and we might feel a certain way, but until someone asks you a question and it requires you to dig deeper, then it's like, oh, I actually do need more time with you, or I actually would really like to, you know, have you clean up a little more, or, you know, whatever. So I don't know. I think maybe weekly check-ins would be.
All right, that's something we'll have to do, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
So what's your...
My love language...
Why don't you tell the people?
...is tried and true. It's 100% all the time. Okay? It doesn't change. My primary is definitely words of affirmation. 100% words of affirmation. Words of encouragement, kind words. My wife telling me what a great father I am.
He's so amazing.
My boss telling me, August, I'll tell you what, there's none like you. You're amazing, August. You know, when my wife says, you know, your beard is looking very glistening today. It's looking very healthy.
It's so conditioned.
And shiny and conditioned. Those are words of affirmation. My primary, my secondary is physical touch. Hello. Thank you, baby. And that doesn't have to just be sex. That can be physical touch in any respect of the word.
Yeah.
So just FYI, I know a lot of the guys think, oh, sex, yeah, mine's definitely sex right off the bat. It's sex. And that's although that is 100% part of it, darling. Let's not forget it. But that's also just a part of it. So what are some ways that this has been implemented into our marriage? Are there any stories that come to mind? I know for me, after I read this book, my relationship with my father just went to a whole nother level, because he, my whole life, always wanted me to like tag along with him if he was going to the grocery store, if he was going to run errands. And then as I got older, and I was having more freedom, he wanted to tag along with me and just do like mundane things. And of course, I was always cool with like regular things, you know, like going to the movies and stuff like that. But even the mundane things, just like I was going to, you know, like go to the laundromat and do some laundry. And he's like, hey, buddy, can I come with you? And I'm like, well, why? You know? But after I read this book, my father was so off the charts quality time. It was ridiculous.
So he obviously had to marry a quality time person.
So I was already ready for that. So that helped me a lot too. And then he was words of affirmation. So if we were spending quality time together, and then I'd notice he's maybe like looking younger, or he's like eating really clean, so he looks like he's trimming down. Oh my God! If somebody at like he was a teacher, if somebody at parent-teacher conferences said like, oh, I thought you were the big brother of one of your students or something like that, he would just be elated. So I learned how to speak his love language. I learned how to spend time with him, how to affirm him. And man, it was an absolute game changer. So speaking of things, of stories, what are some, can you think of anything that has been a 5 love language fail in our marriage?
I mean...
And we don't have long, baby, so don't tell too many stories now.
So there was a time when we first got married, before kids.
Pre-kids,
people. Where August, his Midwest heart, is that how you say it?
My Midwest heart.
Yeah.
We're just good-natured people, babe.
So
and we're very trusting.
It's just a different culture. I am born and raised in Vegas, and so there are just certain things that you just... Anyway, so...
There's a lot of silver-tongued charlatans in Las Vegas looking for kind-hearted Midwestern folk.
To feed upon. Anyway, so so we bought this, we call it a Dave Ramsey car. It was, we bought this Honda Accord that was in great condition. We bought it from a friend who took great care of it. And the only thing that was wrong with it was the paint job. There was something about this year Honda Accord that all the people who bought this year of car in this color, it happened to
the clear coat.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you see, even now when we see it on the street, we're like, that's the same color and it's doing the same thing in the same spots. Anyway, but we didn't realize that it was a thing. We just thought, I don't know, the paint's coming off this car, but it was whatever. He was driving it. It was his car. It was, paid off, and we're like, cool, no car payment. And so he went to work one day, and these guys rolled up on him and was like, hey, yo, I could fix your car. And
that sounded just like them, babe.
Like them.
I mean,
because I met them.
You met them?
I didn't.
I'm like, what? There's more to the story I've never heard.
No. So, and he's like, you can. So, he pays them a certain amount of money. At the time, it was more money than, we really wanted to spend. And so he, they say they fix the car. They give him the keys. They're like, yeah, tomorrow, just bring it to the car wash and they'll wash it off, and the paint job will magically get better.
They'd left this foam on top of it.
Yeah.
I look back, I was such an idiot.
So the next, I distinctly remember the next morning, I remember opening up the door to go to work, and I looked at the car and I was like, man, his car looks weird. It looks, I don't know, it just looked weird, but I was like, oh, whatever. Didn't think anything of it because, mind you, he didn't tell me that he did this because he was going to go to the car wash the next day to wash it off and it was going to be all better. So he goes to the car wash. The car wash people can't get it off. He ended up having to pay them
so much money.
Elbow grease it out of the car, which then in turn made the paint
it took it off
literally come off even more. It was even worse. So of course,
this
naturally,
is bringing up so many bad
memories
right now.
This is his frustration that you're hearing is
Can you have
level one.
Have 5 love languages PTSD? Is that a thing? Because I'm experiencing that right now. So I'm starting to sweat.
I'm coming up
right
to
now.
the love language part that
Please
just did not work. Okay. So he calls me and he's like, babe, I did something and it just didn't work out. He told me this whole story. And he's like, I just wanted to surprise you. And I was like, well, that's not a surprise for me. It's your car.
You didn't want to be surprised with me getting my car repainted, babe? That wasn't speaking your love
That
language.
wasn't. Not unless you were going to take me out on a date in that newly painted car.
Well, I would have had an air freshener.
We wouldn't have had money for it because you spent it on the car.
And that goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, first year of marriage right there.
Yeah.
That's before really getting a grasp of how to speak those love languages. You can know what your spouse's love language is, but speaking it, somebody needs some Rosetta Stone for the 5 love languages. I needed it desperately.
Yeah, it should be a thing that before every couple gets married, they need to, like, I don't know, pass some certain 5 love language test.
Yeah.
Just so you know, this could cause an argument.
Yes. So you need to, number 1, identify their primary and 4 ways that you can speak that love language. After you identify 4 ways to speak the language, you can get married. Well, I'm sorry, baby.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. Oh, that was a bad one. You know, you've got a bad one too. Yeah.
I'm sure I've got a few.
I remember a time when you, back when we lived in Vegas, you used to lead worship for 7 a.m. prayer at our church. And I don't know how this happened, but one day, I don't know if somebody called out or whatever, but you asked me to do worship with you. And man, I was having a good time. Oh man. I mean, and it had been, just to give you a little background, I had grown up singing in front of people. I never had any training, but I would do a lot of theater, musical theater. I had grown up singing in front of people, but I could carry a tune and I could be in a play and, you know, and sound good. But as far as like music wise, like writing my own and all that kind of stuff and like doing that, that's not really like anything that I've ever done. So leading worship with Ashleigh, I was just loving it. I mean, this was just, man, and people were having a great time. People were coming up to me afterwards. Oh, August, man, that was just incredible. And my wife, first year of marriage, my wife has the voice of an angel, but the ears of the Grinch, okay? You want to talk about like an ear that just hears everything? That's this woman right here, okay? And so she proceeds to all these people, you know, saying, August, great job, great job. She waits till the end and she's like, so.
Definitely, probably not that cocky.
And then she went into proceeding to give me some constructive criticism. Now, this is another thing. This brings me to a point that we haven't talked about.
Uh-oh.
Your love language. So mine's words of affirmation. That's how I feel the most loved, right? You have to watch out for being hurt and offended through that as well when you receive the opposite. So that's a very, very good point. So because words mean so much to me, and I feel love from them, when someone speaks negatively to me, and of course in this situation, this is all lighthearted.
Yeah.
When someone speaks negatively to you, to me, it has been a challenge and a process to really learn how to not let that affect me for the negative. And I have to say, I've gotten a whole lot better at it. My skin has gotten a lot thicker.
Yeah.
So
probably because he married me.
Which it definitely helps, that's for sure, baby. Yeah, sharpening my sword. I don't know what that accent was, but
yeah.
You're going to hear a lot of accents, okay? You're going to hear a lot of voices coming out. So that's a good point. So yeah, so I felt, with Ashleigh, I felt hurt. And that was 8 years ago, and I've never sang in public ever since.
It's not true.
She's wounded me so much. So, but some of that was Ashleigh. She could have been a little bit more delicate, but that was also me being sensitive. I will admit that.
Yes.
I will admit that.
Thank you. I apologize.
So we've talked about our love languages. We want to help you figure out yours. So obviously, please buy the book. And it's actually it's a pretty quick read. I mean, this book is just right around 200 pages. So even less than that.
Yeah, just under 200 pages.
Under 200 pages. And it's like, pretty decent sized print. So this is a great, it's a quick read, something you can read with your spouse and identify quickly, or identify what your love languages are and how to speak it. But some of the things that Gary recommends in the book, there are actually 3 main ways that you can help to identify what your love language is. So what are those, baby?
So you can identify your love language by thinking back on something that you most request of your significant other. Like, if I'm always telling August, I really want to go on a date with you, that's a really high indicator that my love language then is quality time.
Yeah.
Another one is the way that you express your love to others. Doesn't always have to be like, I think a lot of times people, when they talk about the five love languages, they automatically think of marriage, but it really can be translated all across the board in every single relationship that you have. You express love at or at least I hope you do, in some degree to people, and how do you do that? Again, mine is quality time. So I'm always like, I want to spend time I just want to have coffee with my friends. I want to one-on-one with them. I want to really know what's going on in their life. And so I always find myself giving love in that way, or, showing up in a relationship that way.
That's a good point.
And so that's another high indicator that that's your love language.
That's a good point. I mean, I'm always, I find myself always holding the kids and grabbing them and cuddling with them and giving them kisses and telling them how much I love them and how smart they are and how beautiful they are. I always find myself doing that. And it's such a clear indicator that that's how I feel love. And so I naturally give it to them.
Yep. And then the last one is, you kind of already touched on it, but the one that you're hurt the most.
Yeah. Think about back in your relationships.
Yeah.
What's hurt you the most?
Yeah.
That's the opposite of that is going to be true.
Yeah. Exactly.
So think of, you're maybe always doing all the housework, and it just hurts you that your spouse could care less about that. I mean, or, maybe your spouse always buys you gifts, but you're thinking to yourself, but we never go on dates. We never spend any time together. He buys me these gifts, and then he just sits in front of the TV all night. So think about those things that really hurt you, and that can be a really heavy indicator to what your love language is.
Totally.
All right. Anything else you want to cover, baby?
I think another thing too is, again, touching on the fact that the 5 love languages doesn't have to just be marriage related. It is really helpful as a parent to recognize what your children's love language is. We have 3 kids, and they could not be more different.
That's so true.
And I don't know if that doesn't make our job any easier because they're so different, and we only have so much time. We have to try and figure out ways to fill their tank differently, all at different, at different times. And so, for our oldest daughter is a lot like me in the sense that she loves quality time. She is the well that will never run dry.
You can spend all day with her. Just pouring in, just filling her love tank.
Yeah. I mean,
she will take more.
Not, oh, she will. I mean, if you come over to our house, she will 100% pull you into her room and like come up with a million reasons why you need to stay in her room so you can spend time with her. Like, we have to warn people that that come to our house to like hang out with us. We're like, just so you know, Haven's probably going to at some point ask you to come into her room so she could quote unquote show you something.
Yes.
And then it'll turn into something else. Like,
she will arrest you.
Yeah, she'll arrest you for the whole time, and then we're gonna have to come rescue you. So just so you know. But the reality is, because we are a little more seasoned in the 5 love languages, I feel like we've done a really good job at identifying what each child's love language, at least their primary now, is. Even, our 1-year-old son, it's like we know what that is. And so it's kind of nice because you can cater, you can like finagle your days. Like for Haven, because she's the only quality time child, it's like, okay, we can schedule a time that we can set aside where maybe the other 2 are being watched by someone, and we can really pour into her.
Yeah.
And that fills her up because, she's the oldest. She's always with her siblings. She doesn't really get a time with us anymore by herself. And that's her love language, though. And so when that's not filled up, her attitude starts to like really go south. And sometimes we forget, like, oh, we haven't hung out with her in a while. Why is she hanging? Why is she like acting all crazy? And then we're like, because we haven't hung out with her in a while. That's why.
She
like
needs
we
a
haven't
daddy-daughter date.
Yeah.
Or a mommy-daughter date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the 5 love languages is a really, really powerful tool. And we could not be more thankful for Gary Chapman in this book. Like, seriously. Like, I can't even imagine the amount of marriages he's saved from this book. It's, I mean, I can't even wrap my head around it. It's so powerful, you guys. If you have not read it, or maybe you've known of it, maybe you've read it, but you haven't really implemented it, I just want to encourage you, like, dive head first into it, because it will legitimately change everything for you.
I couldn't agree more, babe.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us on the very first episode of the Raw Sugar Podcast.
Yes.
All right, we'll come back. See us again next time. We're going to have a lot more content coming for you.
And we're so excited. And I hope you are too.
Yes.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching today. If you want to see healthier, thriving marriages like we do, please like, subscribe, and share. Catch you in the next episode on the Raw Sugar Podcast.